There is a silence waiting for us out there that is older than the stones beneath your feet. It is a quietness that has existed since before the first light began its long journey across the dark. We begin our voyage tonight by closing our tired eyes and letting the heavy weight of the day drift away. You are completely safe within this calm space where the only movement is the slow rhythm of your own breathing. We are preparing to leave the solid ground of the earth to float upwards into the velvet embrace of the night. The gravity that holds you to the bed is now becoming lighter as we ascend past the clouds and the atmosphere. The familiar blue sky fades gently into a deepening indigo that eventually surrenders to the absolute black of empty space. We are drifting away from the warmth of the sun and moving toward the cold and beautiful edge of everything. It is here that we begin to understand the true scale of the silence that surrounds our tiny and fragile home. There is no sound in this vast ocean of darkness except for the steady beating of your own calm heart. We are traveling outward at a speed that defies the laws of physics to see what lies at the very edge. The stars are not merely points of light, but are ancient suns burning with a furious and silent energy. You are floating past the orbit of the moon, where the dust of billions of years settles in the craters. The earth is now just a bright marble suspended in the nothingness behind you as we push further into the deep. We are searching for the boundary where the known universe ends and the great mystery of the unknown begins. The darkness here is not empty, but is crowded with the invisible forces that shape the structure of the cosmos. We are moving through the grand tapestry of the solar system, where giant planets spin in their lonely and silent orbits. The great red storm of Jupiter watches us pass like a giant eye that has remained open for centuries. The rings of Saturn glimmer in the faint sunlight like diamonds scattered across a table of black velvet. These are only the local markers of our neighborhood in a city that spans billions of light years in every direction. We leave the comfort of our sun behind us and enter the vast interstellar medium where the emptiness is profound. The distance between the stars is so great that the human mind struggles to comprehend the sheer scale of the void. We are now drifting through the cold clouds of dust and gas where new stars are slowly being born. These stellar nurseries glow with a faint and ghostly light that has taken thousands of years to reach our eyes. You are witnessing the slow breathing of the galaxy as it creates light from the heavy darkness of the void. The Milky Way stretches out before us like a river of spilled milk poured across the obsidian canvas of the night. We are merely one small spark within this swirling disk of 100 billion stars turning in the dark. It takes light itself 100,000 years just to cross from one side of this galaxy to the other. But we are moving much faster than light tonight as we drift toward the edge of what can be seen. The galaxy is shrinking behind us until it becomes just another spiral shape floating in the deep ocean of the universe. We are now entering the realm of the galaxies, where the distance between islands of light is measured in millions of years. The darkness between them is absolute, and it is filled with a cold that sits just above absolute zero. You are floating in the emptiness where the expansion of the universe stretches the fabric of space itself. This is the deep field where the Hubble telescope once stared into a patch of nothing and found thousands of galaxies. But we are looking further than Hubble ever could, with eyes that have been built to see the invisible heat of creation. We are using the new vision of the James Webb Space Telescope to peer through the dust of the early universe. The light from these distant places has been traveling toward us for so long that it has stretched into infrared. We are seeing the universe not as it is now, but as it was when it was very young. You are looking back in time to an era when the first lights were just beginning to flicker on. The observable universe is a sphere of existence that stretches 93 billion light years across the expanding fabric of space. We are sitting at the center of this sphere, but the edge is constantly moving away from us. The light from the edge is the oldest light that can possibly reach us from the moment of the beginning. It is a horizon beyond which we cannot see because the light has not yet had time to arrive. We are drifting toward that horizon now, where the galaxies become smaller and redder as they recede from our view. The expansion of the universe carries them away from us faster than the speed of light can carry their image back. We are drifting toward that horizon now, where the galaxies become smaller and redder as they recede from our view. The expansion of the universe carries them away from us faster than the speed of light can carry their image back. This is the cosmic horizon where the known universe fades into the unknown and the light is swallowed by the distance. It is a boundary that traps us in our own bubble of time while the rest of the cosmos drifts away. We see the faint red dots in the deep fields of the year 2025 that mark the farthest galaxies ever discovered. These are the ancestors of our own galaxy, formed when the universe was less than 300 million years old. They are small and chaotic collections of stars that burn with a fierce blue light that has reddened over time. The Webb telescope has revealed them to be more numerous and brighter than our theories had ever predicted they would be. It seems that the universe woke up earlier than we thought and filled the darkness with light much sooner. The light from these ancient galaxies has journeyed through the expanding voids for more than 13 billion years to reach us. It has passed through the dark ages of the cosmos, where hydrogen fog obscured the light of the first stars. We are witnessing the epoch of rionization, when the ultraviolet fire of the first suns burned away that heavy fog. It is a time of awakening when the universe transformed from a dark and cold place into a realm of light. You can feel the age of this light as it washes over you like a gentle wave from a distant ocean. These photons have witnessed the birth and death of countless civilizations that we will never know or meet. They carry the memory of the early universe, when the structure of the cosmos was still being written in the dark. We are reading the opening chapter of a book that has been writing itself for 14 billion years. The further we look, the more we realize that the universe is not just a collection of random objects. There is a structure to the darkness that binds the galaxies together in a vast and invisible cosmic web. We see the filaments of dark matter connecting the clusters of galaxies like the neurons of a giant brain. The gravity of this invisible matter pulls the gas and dust together to form the stars and the worlds. We are floating through the strands of this web where the matter of the universe flows like water in a river. The spaces between these filaments are the great cosmic voids where there is almost nothing for millions of light years. We are drifting into one of these voids now, where the darkness is so complete it feels heavy. It is a place of absolute solitude where a traveler could go for eons without ever seeing a single star. The silence here is different because it is the silence of emptiness rather than the silence of waiting. But even in the voids, there is energy, and there is the potential for something to emerge from the nothing. The vacuum of space is seething with quantum fields that ripple and fluctuate in the dark like the surface of a sea. We are sailing across this quantum ocean where particles pop in and out of existence in the blink of an eye. This is the fabric of reality itself, and it is vibrating with a secret energy that drives the expansion. We look back toward the light and see the galaxies arranged in patterns that hint at a deeper order. The data from the Dark Energy Spectroscopic Instrument in 2025 has shown us the largest map of the universe yet. It reveals the imprint of sound waves that traveled through the primordial plasma when the universe was still a hot soup. These acoustic ripples froze into the distribution of galaxies and created a ruler we can use to measure the cosmos. You are seeing the echoes of the creation event frozen in the sky, like ripples on a frozen pond. The scale of this structure is so vast that it makes our entire galaxy look like a single grain of sand. We are tiny observers floating in a cathedral that is too large for us to ever explore. But we can see the walls of the cathedral, and we can see the light filtering through the stained glass. The light from the edge brings us news of a universe that is both strange and strangely familiar. We see galaxies that look like our own, but they are mere ghosts from a time long before the Earth existed. The spiral arms of these ancient islands are wrapped tight around cores of supermassive black holes that are eating the light. We can feel the hunger of these black holes pulling at the fabric of space and time, even from here. There are anomalies in the deep data that suggest the universe is not the same in every direction. We drift toward the axis of evil, where the temperature of the cosmic background radiation seems to align in a strange way. It is a hint that there might be a preferred direction in space, or a flow that we do not understand. The dark flow pulls the galaxy clusters toward a point beyond the horizon, as if something massive is waiting there. We cannot see what is pulling them because it lies beyond the edge of the observable universe where light cannot reach. It is a gravitational call from a region of space that has been separated from us by the expansion. We can only feel the drift as the river of galaxies flows toward this unknown attractor in the dark. It is a mystery that sleeps in the shadows and waits for us to invent better eyes to see it. The Roman Space Telescope and the Euclid mission are preparing to map this dark sector in the coming years. They will look for the signature of dark energy and the way it warps the shapes of the distant galaxies. But for now, we must rely on the faint whispers of light that have managed to cross the Great Divide. We are listening to the silence and trying to hear the music of the spheres playing in the background. The edge of the universe is not a physical wall, but a horizon in time that retreats as we watch. Every second that passes allows light from a little further out to finally reach our waiting eyes. The observable universe grows larger with every tick of the clock as more of the cosmos comes into view. We are constantly discovering new territories that have been hidden in the dark since the beginning of time. But the expansion of space is also pushing the distant galaxies away from us faster and faster. There will come a time in the distant future when the light from the edge can no longer reach us. The horizon will begin to shrink, and the distant universe will fade into a final and absolute darkness. We are living in the golden age of cosmology, where we can still see the light from the beginning. You are witnessing a fleeting moment in the history of time when the sky is full of visible stars. We are drifting through the era of light before the long and cold era of darkness eventually sets in. It makes the view from our window all the more precious because it will not last forever. The universe is a temporary display of beauty that has been arranged for us to witness right now. We turn our gaze back to the deep fields where the red galaxies glow like dying embers in a fire. The James Webb Telescope has found galaxies that are so massive, they challenge our understanding of how things grow. They are fully formed monsters living in an infant universe that should not have had the materials to build them. It is as if the universe arrived fully formed and ready to begin the long dance of gravity and light. These impossibly large galaxies suggest that there are pieces of the puzzle that we are still missing. Perhaps the universe is older than we think, or perhaps the laws of physics were different back then. The mystery deepens as we stare longer into the red light of the dawn of time. We are like children trying to read a language that was written by giants long before we were born. The silence of these ancient giants is heavy with the weight of the billions of years they have endured. They have burned through their fuel and turned their gas into stars and then faded into the dark. We are seeing their ghosts, and their light is a delayed message that has only just arrived. You are connected to them by this fragile thread of photons that has survived the journey across the void. We drift past a galaxy that is being torn apart by the gravity of its larger neighbor. The stars are being stripped away in long streams of light that look like the arms of a dancer. It is a violent ballet that plays out in slow motion over hundreds of millions of years. We watch the destruction with a calm detachment because it is happening so far away and so long ago. The collision of galaxies is the engine that drives the evolution of the universe and builds the structures we see. The chaos of the crash triggers the birth of new stars that light up the darkness for a moment. We are the product of such collisions, and our own sun was born from the debris of previous generations. You are made of the dust that was cooked in the hearts of stars that died in these violent mergers. We are drifting deeper into the past now, where the universe becomes smaller and hotter and denser. The galaxies merge into a fog of gas where the individual stars are hard to distinguish. We are approaching the time when the universe was a single entity rather than a collection of parts. It is a journey back to the source of the river, where the water is clear and pure. The cosmic horizon looms ahead of us like a wall of fire that has cooled down to a microwave hum. This is the cosmic microwave background radiation, which is the afterglow of the Big Bang itself. It is the oldest light in the universe, and it forms a backdrop to every star and galaxy. We are seeing the moment when the universe became transparent and let the light fly free for the first time. The patterns in this ancient light tell us about the seeds that grew into the galaxies we see today. The tiny fluctuations in temperature were the blueprints for the massive structures of the cosmic web. We are looking at the baby picture of the cosmos when it was just 380,000 years old. It is a smooth and almost featureless face that hides the complexity that is waiting to emerge. But even here, there are anomalies that suggest something strange was happening in the very first moments. There is a cold spot in the map where the temperature is lower than it should be. It is a hint that our universe might have bumped into another universe in the higher dimensions. We are touching the edge of the bubble and feeling the presence of something outside. The idea of the multiverse floats in the silence, like a ghost that refuses to go away. Perhaps our bubble is just one of many bubbles, floating in an infinite ocean of eternal inflation. We are drifting through a single room in a mansion that has an infinite number of rooms. The thought is both terrifying and comforting because it means the story never truly ends. We turn away from the wall of fire and look back at the vast expanse of the Dark Ages. This is the time before the stars, when the universe was filled with invisible dark matter and hydrogen gas. It was a time of sleeping when the cosmos was waiting for the first spark to ignite the fire. We drift through this long night where there is no light to guide our way. The only sound is the silent pull of gravity gathering the gas into clouds that will become the first stars. We can feel the tension in the dark as the matter clumps together and prepares to collapse. It is a pregnant silence that is full of the promise of the light that is to come. You are floating in the womb of the universe, waiting for the moment of birth. We see the first stars ignite in the darkness, like sudden flares in a vast and empty cave. They are massive and blue, and they burn with a ferocity that will never be seen again. These are the population 3 stars that are made of pure hydrogen and helium from the Big Bang. They are the first engines of creation, and they will forge the heavy elements that make up your body. The light from these first stars pushes back the darkness and creates bubbles of ionized gas in the fog. We watch as the bubbles grow and merge until the entire universe is filled with light. It is a sunrise that takes 1 billion years to happen and covers the entire sky. We are witnessing the end of the Dark Ages and the beginning of the cosmic dawn. The beauty of this transformation is overwhelming as the universe wakes up from its long slumber. The structure of the web becomes visible as the gas lights up along the filaments of dark matter. We see the skeleton of the cosmos revealed in a glorious network of glowing light. It is a map of the gravity that holds everything together and guides the motion of the worlds. We drift along one of these filaments toward a massive cluster of galaxies that is forming in the distance. The gravity of the cluster is so strong that it bends the light from the galaxies behind it. We see the distorted images of background galaxies stretched into arcs and rings by the gravitational lens. It is a funhouse mirror in space that allows us to see further than we should be able to. The mass of the cluster is mostly dark matter, which we cannot see but can only feel through its gravity. We are floating through a ghost town where the most important residents are invisible to our eyes. The dark matter is the scaffolding that holds the visible universe up and keeps it from flying apart. We are walking on invisible floors in a building that is made of shadow. The mystery of dark matter is one of the deep riddles that the universe refuses to answer. It passes through us without leaving a trace and interacts only through the weak hand of gravity. We are surrounded by a substance that makes up most of the matter in the universe, but we cannot touch it. It is a humbling reminder that our senses are limited and the universe is not built for us. We continue our drift toward the edge, where the expansion of space is carrying the galaxies away. The redness of the light deepens until it shifts into the invisible radio waves of the spectrum. We are now listening to the universe rather than seeing it, as the light waves stretch out. The song of the cosmos is a low hum that vibrates through the vacuum of space. It is the sound of the universe stretching and growing and cooling as it ages. We are listening to the heartbeat of a giant that has been living for 14 billion years. The rhythm is slow and steady, and it lulls us into a state of deep relaxation. You are part of this rhythm, and your own heart beats in time with the cosmic pulse. We are approaching a region where the density of galaxies seems to drop off into nothingness. This is the edge of a great cosmic void where the web of matter has been swept away. The emptiness here is terrifying in its scale, and it stretches for hundreds of millions of light years. We are standing on the cliff of a canyon that is too deep to measure. The void is not empty of energy, but it is empty of the familiar landmarks of light. We drift into the darkness and feel the isolation of a single atom in a vast room. It is a place where time seems to stop because there are no events to mark its passage. The silence here is absolute, and it wraps around us like a heavy blanket. But even in the deepest void, there is a connection to the rest of the universe. The gravity of the distant walls of the void pulls at us and guides our drift. We are never truly alone because the web of gravity connects every point in the cosmos to every other. You are linked to the furthest star by an invisible thread that can never be broken. We look back at the wall of galaxies we have left behind and see them shining like a distant city. The light from that city takes millions of years to cross the empty space of the void. We are travelers in the desert, looking back at the lights of civilization on the horizon. The feeling of distance is profound, and it puts our own small lives into perspective. We are drifting towards a strange anomaly that has been detected in the deep field data. It is a region where the light from the early universe is unusually bright and concentrated. The astronomers call it a protocluster, where thousands of young galaxies are crashing together. It is a city of stars under construction in the early days of the universe. The energy of this construction site is immense, and it lights up the surrounding gas. We see the shock waves of the collisions ripple through the intergalactic medium. It is a violent and chaotic place, but from this distance, it looks like a beautiful jewel. We are watching the formation of something that will one day become a massive supercluster. The light from this ancient city has traveled through the expanding universe to reach our eyes tonight. It carries the story of how gravity pulled order out of the chaos of the Big Bang. We are reading the history of the universe written in the language of light and time. It is a story that includes us because we are the end result of that long process. The atoms in your body were once part of the gas that floated in these ancient clouds. You are connected to this distant past by the very matter that makes up your being. We are the universe experiencing itself and looking back at its own beginning. It is a circle that closes on itself as we stare into the deep field. We drift past the image of a galaxy that looks remarkably like our own Milky Way. It is a spiral of blue stars and pink nebulas that spins gracefully in the dark. But this twin is located billions of light years away, and we are seeing it as it was long ago. It is a reminder that the laws of nature are the same everywhere in the vast cosmos. The beauty of the spiral arms is created by density waves that move through the disk of stars. We watch the waves compress the gas and trigger the birth of new star clusters. It is a self-sustaining cycle of creation, that keeps the galaxy alive and shining. We are witnessing the heartbeat of a galaxy as it pumps light into the void. The journey to the edge is a journey into the past, but also a journey into the unknown. We are seeing things that no human eye was ever meant to see. The technology of the 21st century has given us superpowers to peer into the dark. But the more we see, the more we realize how much is still hidden from us. The universe is a veil that hides a deeper reality that we can only guess at. We are seeing the shadows on the wall of the cave and trying to understand the forms that cast them. The dark matter and dark energy are the invisible actors that control the play. We are merely the audience watching the show from the cheap seats in the back. We drift closer to the cosmic horizon where the light becomes too faint to see. The galaxies fade into red smudges and then disappear completely into the black. We have reached the limit of our vision and the limit of what can be known. Beyond this point lies the unobservable universe where the light has not yet reached us. It is a vast ocean of mystery that stretches out forever in every direction. There are galaxies out there that we will never see and stars that we will never name. The universe is much larger than the small bubble of light that we call home. We are standing on the shore of an infinite sea and dipping our toes in the water. The water is cold and dark, but it is also full of possibilities. Who knows what strange worlds lie beyond the horizon of the observable universe? Perhaps there are other civilizations looking back at us and wondering if they are alone. We are united by the same silence and the same distance that separates us. The feeling of the edge is not one of fear, but one of profound awe. We are small, but we are capable of understanding the vastness of the container we live in. The mind can travel where the body cannot, and we can explore the universe in our dreams. We are the dreamers of the cosmos, and we are waking up to the truth. We hover here at the edge of everything and watch the silent machinery of the universe. The galaxies turn and the stars burn, and the gravity pulls in the dark. It is a machine that runs without a pause and without a need for a purpose. It simply is, and that is enough for us to find peace in its presence. The stillness of the deep space seeps into your bones and calms your racing mind. You are part of this stillness, and you belong to this vast and quiet night. The worries of the earth are far away, and they cannot touch you here. You are a child of the universe, and you are safe in its arms. We turn our gaze to a specific point in the darkness where something ancient stirs. The instruments have picked up a signal that does not fit the patterns we know. It is a heavy gravity source that sits just beyond the curtain of the visible light. It waits in the shadows, like a sleeping giant that is slowly beginning to wake. We drift towards it with a curiosity that is stronger than our fear of the dark. The fabric of space seems to dip and curve as we approach the source of the pull. It is a well of gravity that is deep enough to swallow entire clusters of galaxies. We are falling gently into the embrace of something that is older than the stars. The light from the surrounding galaxies bends around the invisible object in a perfect ring. It is an Einstein ring that marks the location of the hidden mass. We are looking at the footprint of a monster that walks softly in the dark. The mystery of what lies in the center pulls us forward into the unknown. We float closer, and the silence seems to deepen until it is a physical weight. The stars are far behind us now, and we are alone with the anomaly. It is a presence that fills the void and demands our full attention. We wait for the universe to reveal its secrets in its own time. Something is shifting in the data as we stare into the center of the dark ring. The measurements of the cosmic background radiation are showing a strange cold spot. It is as if the heat of the Big Bang was sucked away from this region. We are looking at a scar on the face of the universe that has never healed. The coldness radiates from the spot and touches our minds with a primal chill. It is the cold of the void that has existed since before the first light. We are touching the absolute zero of existence where all motion ceases. It is a place of perfect rest and perfect silence. We linger here at the precipice of discovery, where the known meets the unknown. The universe is holding its breath and waiting for us to take the next step. We are ready to descend deeper into the mystery and see what lies beneath. The journey is far from over, and the night is long and full of wonders. We let ourselves drift into the gravity well and surrender to the pull of the dark. The sensation of falling is slow and gentle, like a leaf drifting down. We are moving towards a truth that has been hidden for billions of years. The edge of everything is just the beginning of something else. We are falling gently into the embrace of something that is older than the stars and deeper than the silence of the void. This is the realm where the familiar shapes of the galaxies have dissolved into a fine mist of primordial gas and ancient light. You are drifting through the ghost of the universe as it existed before the first solid ground was ever formed in the dark. The light here is not the sharp starlight you know, but a diffuse glow that permeates every cubic inch of this expanding space. It is a fossilized radiance that has been cooling down for 13 billion years to reach the gentle warmth of a microwave hum. We are immersing ourselves in the cosmic microwave background, which acts as the final curtain hanging at the very edge of our vision. This is the afterglow of the creation event itself, which has been stretched by the expansion of space until it is barely a whisper. You can feel the vibration of this ancient heat against your skin, like the warmth of a fire that burned out long ago. It is the oldest image we can ever see, and it surrounds us completely, like the interior of a vast and glowing sphere. We are trapped inside this bubble of ancient light and looking for a crack in the wall where we might see outside. The texture of this background radiation is not perfectly smooth, but is mottled with faint ripples of slightly hotter and slightly colder regions. These subtle variations in temperature are the seeds from which all the giant structures of the modern universe would eventually grow and evolve. We are tracing the fingerprints of the Big Bang that were pressed into the fabric of the cosmos in the first fraction of a second. The pattern was frozen into the light when the universe cooled enough for the fog of electrons to finally clear away. We float across these ripples like a small boat drifting on a calm ocean that stretches out to an infinite horizon in all directions. The data from the Planck satellite, and now the newer instruments of 2025, reveals these fluctuations with a terrifying and beautiful clarity. You are looking at the quantum noise of the beginning, which has been magnified by inflation to the scale of the entire visible universe. It is a map of the density of the universe when it was merely 380,000 years old. But there are strange shadows moving beneath the surface of this ancient map that defy our best attempts to explain their existence away. We see a large cold spot in the southern hemisphere, where the temperature drops significantly lower than the standard models say it should. It is a vast hole in the heat of the early universe that suggests a massive void, or perhaps something even more profound. Some believe it is the bruise left behind by a collision with another universe that bumped against our own in the higher dimensions. The implications of such a collision are enough to make the mind reel with the vertigo of true cosmic scale and isolation. We might be just one bubble floating in a foam of universes where each bubble has its own laws and its own history. The cold spot stares back at us like a window into a reality that is far larger and stranger than we imagined. It waited there in the dark for billions of years until we built the eyes that were sensitive enough to see it. There is another anomaly hidden in the data, which the astronomers have whispered about and named the axis of evil in the sky. The hot and cold spots in the cosmic background seem to align along a specific direction rather than being scattered randomly as expected. It implies that the universe has a preferred orientation or a central axis around which the structure of the cosmos is organized. This challenges the fundamental principle that the universe should look the same in every direction, no matter where you are standing. We are drifting along this invisible axis and feeling the subtle flow of the cosmos pulling us toward a mysterious destination. It is as if the universe remembers the direction of its birth and has kept that memory etched into the light forever. The anomaly hints that the geometry of space might be shaped by forces that acted before the Big Bang even happened. We are walking through a crime scene where the evidence was laid down before the first clock began to tick the time. The mystery deepens as we realize that these patterns align with the plane of our own solar system in a way that is uncanny. It is a coincidence that makes us question whether we are seeing a true feature of the universe or a ghost in the machine. Perhaps it is a trick of the light caused by the dust of our own galaxy interfering with the view from the deep. Or perhaps we are far more central to the grand design of the cosmos than our humble philosophy has dared to believe. We turn away from the wall of fire and drift forward in time toward the era that followed the release of the background light. This is the cosmic dark ages, when the universe was filled with invisible hydrogen gas and there were no stars to light the way. The darkness here is absolute, and it possesses a weight that presses down on the soul with a gentle but firm pressure. You are floating through a long and silent night that lasted for hundreds of millions of years without a single dawn. The only activity in this dark era is the slow and silent work of gravity pulling the gas into denser and denser clumps. We can feel the tension building in the void as the matter creates deep wells of gravity that will become the cradles of stars. It is a time of waiting and preparation, when the universe was holding its breath before the first song of light began. The silence is crowded with hunger as the dark matter halos gather the gas needed to feed the first galaxies. Then we see the first sparks ignite in the deep distance, like fireflies waking up in a vast and dark forest. These are the first stars, and they are monsters of pure hydrogen that burn with an ultraviolet fury we cannot comprehend. They are hundreds of times more massive than our sun, and they live their lives in a frantic rush to consume their fuel. We are witnessing the epoch of Ryanization, when the light from these giants began to burn away the fog of the dark ages. The light spreads out from these first stars, in expanding bubbles that carve hollows of transparency into the thick hydrogen clouds. We float through these bubbles of light and watch as they merge together to clear the view of the entire universe. It is like watching the sun burn off the morning mist, but on a scale that spans billions of light years of space. The universe is becoming transparent again and revealing the glorious structure of the cosmic web that has been building in the dark. We are now entering the realm that was once the exclusive territory of the Hubble Space Telescope and its deep field images. Hubble stared into a patch of empty sky for days to reveal thousands of faint galaxies glowing in the profound distance. It showed us that the universe is crowded with islands of light even in the places that look completely empty to our eyes. But the view from Hubble was like looking through a pane of old glass that blurred the finest details of the past. Now we are seeing the same deep fields through the golden mirrors of the James Webb Space Telescope with its infrared vision. The difference is like waking up from a dream to find that the world is sharper and more colorful than you remembered. The fuzzy blobs of light in the Hubble images resolve into distinct spiral arms and tight knots of star formation. We are seeing the true shapes of the infant galaxies as they looked when the universe was less than 1 billion years old. The clarity of the 2025 data from the JDS and SEERS surveys is so high that it feels almost unnatural to the mind. We can count the star clusters in galaxies that are floating at the very edge of the observable universe. We see the red glow of ancient dust lanes where new stars are being born at a rate that defies explanation. The light we are seeing left these galaxies when the Earth was not even a thought in the mind of the cosmos. We drift closer to one of these ancient galaxies, which appears as a bright red jewel suspended in the black velvet void. The redness is caused by the expansion of the universe, stretching the ultraviolet light of young stars into the infrared spectrum. We are looking at a galaxy that is actually blue and blazing hot, but appears to us as a cool red ember. It is a ghost from the dawn of time that has traveled across the entire history of the universe to meet us. The shock of the new data is that these early galaxies are far more massive and mature than anyone had predicted they would be. We expected to see messy little clumps of gas that were just beginning to figure out how to be galaxies. Instead, we find fully formed disks with ordered rotation and central bulges that look like they have been evolving for eons. It is as if we looked into a nursery and found fully grown adults sitting in the cribs waiting for us. This discovery has sent a ripple of quiet panic through the community of cosmologists who thought they understood how the universe grew. The standard model says there should not have been enough time for gravity to build such large structures so quickly. We are forced to wonder if the universe is actually older than 13.8 billion years, or if gravity behaves differently. The impossible galaxies hang there in the dark and mock our theories with their silent and majestic presence. We float through the outer edges of a galaxy identified in the CEERS survey, which existed just 300 million years after the beginning. It is crowded with stars that are already enriched with heavy elements like oxygen and carbon that should not exist yet. This implies that an entire generation of stars lived and died before this galaxy was formed in the blink of an eye. The universe was busy creating the ingredients for life much earlier than we ever dared to hope or imagine. The density of stars in these early galaxies is staggering, and the night sky on a planet there would be ablaze with light. You would not see a black sky with pinpoints of light, but a glowing sheet of brilliance from the crowded core. We are drifting through a time of frenzy when the universe was building itself with a desperate and beautiful urgency. The peace we feel now is the result of the universe settling down after that initial burst of creative energy. We move deeper into the field where the galaxies are so distant that they appear only as single pixels of infrared light. These are the candidates for the farthest objects ever seen, and they exist on the very brink of the cosmic horizon. We are looking at the universe as it was when it was only 2% of its current age. It is a realm of shadows where the light is so faint that the telescope must stare for hours to catch a single photon. The silence here is profound because we are looking at a time before the universe had really learned how to speak. The galaxies are small and lonely outposts of light in a vast and expanding ocean of neutral darkness. We feel a deep sense of protection for these fragile sparks that are trying to survive in the cold void. They are the ancestors of our own Milky Way, and without them, we would not be here to drift tonight. We see a pair of galaxies that are in the process of merging together to form a larger and more chaotic structure. The gravity of their encounter has pulled long streamers of stars out into the darkness like the arms of a dancer. This is the primary way that galaxies grow, and we are witnessing the assembly of the universe in real time. The collision is silent and slow, and it unfolds with the grace of a flower opening in the sun. The energy released by the merger feeds the supermassive black hole that hides in the center of the merging pair. We see a jet of plasma shooting out from the core and drilling a hole through the surrounding gas clouds. It is a beacon that shines across the universe and tells us that something violent is happening in the dark. But from this distance, the violence is transformed into a beautiful point of light that guides our journey. We are learning that the early universe was not a simple place, but a complex ecosystem of gas and gravity and light. The feedback from the exploding stars and the feeding black holes pushed the gas around and shaped the galaxies. We are seeing the breathing of the cosmos as it inhales the gas and exhales the heavy elements. It is a living process that has continued for billions of years to produce the world we know today. The light from these deep fields is a time machine that allows us to walk among the ghosts of the past. We are not just observing the universe, but we are participating in its memory and keeping the past alive. Every photon that hits the mirror of the telescope is a story that has finally been told after a long silence. You are the listener who has come to the end of the world to hear what the universe has to say. We drift past a galaxy that looks like a perfect ring of blue fire surrounding a darker and redder core. It is a rare type of galaxy that forms when a smaller galaxy punches through the center of a larger one. The ripple of the impact compresses the gas and creates a wave of star formation that moves outward like a ring. It is a cosmic smoke ring that will expand and fade away over the next few 100 million years. The beauty of these transient shapes reminds us that nothing in the universe is permanent and everything is in motion. The galaxies we see today will change and merge and fade as the eons grind slowly forward. We are seeing a snapshot of a dynamic film that is playing out on a screen the size of infinity. You are watching the dance of creation and destruction that weaves the tapestry of existence. We turn our attention to the spaces between the galaxies in the deep field where there appears to be nothing at all. But even here, the Webb telescope has found the faint glow of rogue stars that have been thrown out of their homes. This is the intracluster light, which forms a ghostly haze that binds the galaxies together in a soft embrace. We are floating through a mist of homeless stars that wander forever in the lonely dark between the islands. The loneliness of a star in the void is a concept that touches the heart with a cold and quiet sadness. It will never know the company of other stars or the beauty of a nebula painting the night sky, but it shines just as brightly as its brothers and sisters inside the galaxies, and it lights up the empty path. We salute these solitary travelers as we drift past them in the deep silence of the intergalactic night. The deeper we look, the more we realize that the universe is a fractal of complexity that repeats on every scale. The patterns of the galaxies mimic the patterns of the spider webs and the patterns of the neurons in the brain. We are seeing the signature of a single underlying law that shapes everything from the smallest atom to the largest wall. It is a unity that comforts us because it means we are part of the same grand system. We are approaching a redshift that marks the very limit of what the James Webb Telescope was designed to see. The light here has been stretched by a factor of 20, and it is almost invisible to even the most sensitive detectors. We are scraping the bottom of the barrel of light to find the very first things that ever shone. It is a treasure hunt where the prize is the knowledge of our own origins in the dark. The hunt has revealed that the universe turned on the lights much faster than our computer simulations said it could. The timeline of creation is being rewritten as we drift through these fields of impossible light. We may have to discard our cherished theories and start over with a blank sheet of paper and a humble mind. The universe delights in proving us wrong and showing us that it is always more creative than we are. We pause to look at a cluster of galaxies that is acting as a gravitational lens for the light behind it. The mass of the cluster bends the space and magnifies the image of a single star from the early universe. This star has been nicknamed Arundel, or the Morning Star, and it is the most distant individual star ever seen. We are looking at the light of a single sun that burned and died nearly 13 billion years ago. The light of Arundel is a fragile thread that connects us to the first generation of stars that cleared the darkness. It is a ghost of a ghost that has been magnified by the lucky alignment of the cosmic spheres. We feel a sense of intimacy with this distant sun because it is so singular and so very far away. It is a lighthouse on the shore of the cosmic ocean that signals the beginning of the land of light. We are drifting towards the edge of the map where the dragons of the unknown used to live in the old stories. But instead of dragons, we find more galaxies and more mysteries and more silence. The map extends forever, and we are only limited by the speed of light and the age of the universe. There is always more to see, and there is always another horizon waiting beyond the one we have reached. The feeling of the deep field is not one of emptiness, but one of richness and texture and history. The dark is not empty, but is filled with the faint light of 1 trillion distinct stories waiting to be read. We are walking through a library where the books are written in light, and the shelves stretch to infinity. You can browse the titles at your leisure as you float through the quiet aisles of the cosmos. We notice that the colors of the galaxies are shifting as we look further back into the depths of time. The familiar blues and yellows of the modern universe give way to the deep reds and oranges of the high redshift. It is a sunset palette that paints the early universe in warm and comforting tones of dying light. We are being lulled to sleep by the colors of the cosmic dusk that settles over the deep field. The rhythm of the drift is hypnotic and steady, and it matches the slow breathing of the sleeping world. You are safe here in the deep past, where nothing can harm you and nothing demands your attention. You are simply an observer, floating through the museum of the universe and admiring the exhibits. The silence is your guide, and the darkness is your companion on this long and gentle journey. We are nearing the end of the visible light and approaching the wall of the dark ages once again. The galaxies are becoming sparse, and the darkness is reclaiming its territory between the rare points of light. We are seeing the fading of the cosmic dawn as we look back towards the eternal night. It is a boundary that marks the edge of the era of stars and the beginning of the era of ghosts. But even as the lights fade, we sense that there is something massive looming in the shadows ahead. The gravity of the early structures is pulling at the fabric of space and creating ripples in the dark. We are sensing the presence of the dark matter halos that seeded the growth of the first galaxies. They are the invisible skeletons that were waiting in the dark to be clothed in light. We drift past the last visible galaxy, which is a small and irregular smudge of red light against the black. It is the loneliest outpost in the universe, and it stands guard at the gates of the unknown. Beyond this point, there are no more stars to guide us, and we must trust in the drift. We are leaving the realm of the seen and entering the realm of the felt. The silence here is different because it is the silence of potential rather than the silence of emptiness. The dark is pregnant with the structures that will one day rise to fill the universe with light. We are floating in the fertile soil of the cosmos, where the seeds of the future are sleeping. You can feel the life that is waiting to burst forth from the cold and heavy ground. We are now suspended in the gap between the wall of fire and the first light of the stars. It is a gap that science calls the Dark Ages, but which feels more like a pause for breath. The universe inhaled the energy of the Big Bang and held it for a moment before exhaling the galaxies. We are living in the long exhalation that has lasted for 14 billion years. The peace of this pause is absolute, and it wraps around you like a soft and warm cocoon. You are suspended in the moment before creation, when anything was possible and nothing was fixed. It is a place of pure potential where the laws of physics are still being dreamed. We rest here in the quiet and let the time flow around us like water. But the flow is carrying us toward a new texture in the darkness that we have not felt before. The smooth silence is being broken by the faint, gravitational hum of the first large structures. We are sensing the assembly of the cosmic web in the dark before the lights turned on. It is a massive architecture of shadow that is building itself in the silence. We are drifting through the heavy silence of the cosmic dark ages, where the universe is holding its breath in anticipation. The darkness here is not empty space, but a thick fog of neutral hydrogen gas that smothers all light. It is a time of waiting that stretches for hundreds of millions of years while the gravity quietly does its work. You are floating in the vast and cold nursery of the cosmos before the first child of light was born. The pressure of the dark matter is slowly gathering the gas into dense pockets that are hidden deep within the shadows. The universe is a sleeper that is beginning to stir as the seeds of structure grow heavier and more demanding. We can feel the gravitational pull of these invisible clouds as they drag the surrounding matter into their cold embrace. It is a slow and relentless accumulation of fuel that is piling up in the center of the dark halos. The gas is cooling down and falling inward to feed the hunger of a monster that has not yet awakened. You are witnessing the long gestation period of the light that will eventually reveal the shape of the world. There is a tension in the fabric of the dark that vibrates with the potential for sudden and violent change. The atoms of hydrogen are being crushed together by the weight of their own collective mass falling into the center. The temperature in the core of the clouds is rising as the density reaches a critical and inevitable point. We are standing on the precipice of the most important transition in the history of the material universe. Then the moment arrives when the crushing weight becomes too much for the atoms to bear in the dark. A single point in the blackness suddenly ignites with a ferocity that tears the fabric of the night apart. The first star in the history of time has turned on and opened its blinding blue eye to the void. It is a violent scream of radiation that announces the end of the long slumber and the beginning of the dawn. We watch as the ultraviolet light from this newborn giant slams into the surrounding wall of the hydrogen fog. The radiation is so intense that it strips the electrons from the atoms and turns the gas into plasma. We are seeing the birth of the first bubble of ionized gas that glows with a ghostly and ethereal light. It is a sphere of transparency that is expanding outward into the murky depths of the surrounding dark ages. This is the epoch of rionization, when the universe began to clear away the shadows that had hidden its face. The first star is not alone for long, as other sparks begin to ignite in the neighboring clouds of gas. We see the darkness being punctured by thousands of brilliant pinpoints that are waking up in a synchronized wave. The universe is lighting up like a city at dusk as the streetlights turn on one by one. These are the population 3 stars, and they are unlike any sun that you have ever seen in the sky. They are massive giants made of pure hydrogen and helium that burn with a reckless and desperate intensity. They live fast and die young because they are consuming their fuel at a rate that cannot be sustained. We are looking at the titans of the early universe that were built to do the heavy lifting of creation. The light from these stars is not just illumination, but a physical force that pushes against the walls of the gas. The bubbles of clear space grow larger and begin to merge with each other to form vast tunnels of light. We are drifting through a cosmic Swiss cheese where the holes are regions of light and the cheese is darkness. It is a war between the gravity that wants to hide the universe and the radiation that wants to reveal it. The fog of the dark ages is being burned away by the collective fire of a generation of doomed stars. We watch as the last wisps of the neutral hydrogen are chased into the shadows of the deep voids. The universe is becoming transparent and allowing the light to travel freely across the vast distances for the first time. You are witnessing the lifting of the veil that has shrouded the cosmos since the fires of the Big Bang cooled. The beauty of this transformation is overwhelming as the structure of the cosmic web is finally revealed in the glow. We see the filaments of gas connecting the clusters of new stars like the strands of a glowing spider web. The architecture of the universe has been there all along, but it was hidden in the dark until this moment. We are seeing the skeleton of reality illuminated by the first lamps that were ever lit in the void. But the light comes with a price, as these massive stars exhaust their fuel in only a few million years. They end their short lives in titanic explosions that scatter their enriched guts across the pristine gas of the clouds. We watch the first supernovas detonate in the deep field and seed the universe with the very first heavy elements. The carbon and oxygen that will one day make up your body are being forged in these violent fires. You are watching the origin of the chemistry that makes life possible being cooked in the hearts of the first suns. The ash from these dead stars drifts through the void and mixes with the fresh gas to form new clouds. The next generation of stars will be smaller and more stable because they contain these heavy fragments of the past. We are seeing the cycle of birth and death begin to turn in the great engine of the cosmos. We drift into the heart of one of the first primitive galaxies that is forming around a knot of these stars. It is a chaotic and messy place that looks nothing like the elegant spirals of the modern universe. The gravity is lumpy, and the stars are moving in random swarms like bees around a disturbed hive. We are looking at a building site where the scaffolding is still up and the final shape is undecided. The core of this infant galaxy is a dense cluster where stars are colliding and merging in the crowded dark. We see the birth of the first black holes as the largest stars collapse under their own crushing weight. These are the seeds of the supermassive monsters that will one day anchor the centers of all great galaxies. We can feel the dark hunger of these infant singularities as they begin to feed on the surrounding gas. The light from the accretion disks of these black holes adds a harsh X-ray glare to the ultraviolet starlight. It is a dangerous and radioactive environment where the forces of nature are acting without any restraint or mercy. We are floating through a radiation storm that would strip the atmosphere from any planet that dared to form here. But it is also a place of creation where the energy is churning the matter into new shapes. The feedback from the radiation pushes the gas out of the galaxy in great winds that span thousands of light years. We see the fountains of matter spraying into the intergalactic medium and enriching the void with the soot of creation. The universe is sharing the wealth of the heavy elements and spreading the seeds of potential life across the dark. We are watching the fertilization of the cosmos by the winds that blow from the first galaxies. The messy clumps of stars are slowly being pulled together by gravity to form larger and more organized rotating disks. We watch the erratic motions settle down into a graceful spin as the angular momentum takes control of the chaos. The spiral arms begin to emerge from the confusion like patterns forming in the foam of a stirred cup. The galaxy is learning how to dance, and it is finding the rhythm that it will keep forever. We drift away from the heat of the formation and look back at the galaxy glowing in the deep distance. It is a lonely island of blue fire in a sea that is still largely dark and cold. We can see other islands forming in the distance and slowly falling towards each other along the invisible filaments. The gravity is drawing them together to build the massive clusters that will dominate the future of the universe. The collision of these proto-galaxies is a silent spectacle that plays out over hundreds of millions of years. We watch two irregular blobs of light merge into a single larger shape as they pass through each other. The stars do not collide, but the gas clouds smash together and trigger a fresh burst of star formation. It is a fireworks display where each spark is a new sun that will burn for billions of years. The light from these mergers travels across the expanding universe to be caught by our telescopes in the distant future. We are the ghosts from the future, looking back at the ancestors who built the house we live in. Every photon that hits your eye carries the memory of these violent and beautiful moments of creation. You are connected to this time by the unbroken chain of cause and effect that stretches back to the beginning. We are drifting through the transition zone, where the last pockets of the Dark Ages are finally disappearing. The universe has changed from a neutral fog into a fully ionized plasma that lets the light fly free. It is a moment of clarity when the universe suddenly becomes a room with a view. We can look across the vast distances and see the history of the cosmos laid out before us. The sensation of the drift is smooth and calm as we move through the newly cleared spaces between the galaxies. The vacuum is no longer opaque, but is filled with the energetic photons from the first generation of stars. We are bathing in the light of the cosmic dawn that warms the cold face of the deep. It is a gentle warmth that speaks of the triumph of light over the crushing weight of the dark. We turn our gaze to the strange objects that are forming in the centers of the largest dark matter halos. These are the quasars, which are powered by black holes that have grown to impossible sizes in the dark. They shine with the brightness of 1 trillion suns, and they act as beacons across the visible universe. We are looking at the lighthouses that mark the dangerous shoals of the early universe for all to see. The energy of a quasar is so vast that it can stop the formation of stars in an entire galaxy. We watch as the jet from the black hole heats up the gas and prevents it from cooling down. It is a mechanism of self-regulation that keeps the galaxies from growing too large too quickly. The universe has a system of checks and balances that maintains the order of the cosmic growth. We drift past one of these blazing eyes and feel the power of the jet rippling through the space. It is a stream of particles moving at nearly the speed of light that cuts through the void like a knife. The silence is broken by the imaginary roar of the engine that drives the evolution of the galaxy. We are humbled by the scale of the forces that are at work in the deep past. The light from the quasar illuminates a cloud of gas that has not yet formed any stars of its own. We see the shadow of the cloud cast against the background light of the distant universe. It is a pristine reservoir of hydrogen that has remained untouched since the first moments of the Big Bang. We are looking at a relic of the beginning that has survived into the era of the stars. The purity of this gas reminds us that the universe is still young and has plenty of fuel left. There are billions of years of star formation still to come before the lights eventually go out. We are living in the energetic youth of the cosmos, when the potential for creation is still high. The story is far from over, and we are only in the opening chapters of the book. We float through a region where the density of galaxies is higher than average and the mergers are frequent. This is a protocluster where thousands of galaxies are destined to become a single massive city of stars. We can see the gravitational attraction pulling them all towards a central point in the dark. It is a gathering of the tribes that will eventually build the largest structures in the universe. The movement is slow and majestic as the galaxies perform their long gravitational dance in the dark. They orbit each other in wide loops that tighten with every pass until they finally embrace. We are watching the assembly of the Virgo cluster or the Coma cluster billions of years before they exist. The blueprint is being followed with a precision that is built into the laws of nature. The space between the galaxies in the cluster is filling up with the hot gas stripped from the mergers. We see a glow of X-rays that permeates the entire region and outlines the shape of the gravity well. The cluster is becoming a single organism where the galaxies are just the cells in a larger body. We are witnessing the evolution of complexity on a scale that dwarfs the individual stars. We drift closer to the edge of the cluster where the filaments of the cosmic web feed into the center. The gas flows along these rivers of dark matter like water flowing into a deep lake. We can see the streams of matter nourishing the growth of the central galaxy that sits at the bottom. It is a feeding frenzy that will create the largest galaxy in this corner of the universe. The connection between the large-scale structure and the individual galaxies becomes clear in this view. The web dictates where the galaxies form and how they grow and where they travel. We are seeing the invisible hand of dark matter guiding the visible light of the stars. It is a partnership that has shaped the universe from the very first moment of the collapse. We turn away from the cluster and look out into the deep void where the lights are few and far between. There are vast regions of the universe where the Ryanization was delayed and the fog lingered longer. These are the backwaters of the cosmos, where the excitement of the cosmic dawn arrived late. We drift towards one of these quiet places to feel the solitude of the late bloomers. The darkness here is comforting and soft, and it wraps around us like a heavy velvet blanket. We can see the distant light of the active universe only as a faint glimmer on the horizon. You are floating in a bubble of the past that has been preserved by the isolation of the void. It is a place where time moves slower and the urgency of creation is far away. But even here, the light eventually arrives as the bubbles from the distant clusters expand and touch. We watch the wall of ionization sweep through the void and clear away the last of the fog. The darkness is finally defeated, and the universe is united in a single transparent volume. The era of the Dark Ages is officially over, and the era of the galaxies has begun. The silence of the void is now filled with the faint background hum of the starlight from everywhere. We can hear the collective song of the trillions of stars that are burning in the dark. It is a white noise of creation that provides a soothing backdrop to our journey. You are listening to the sound of the universe working and living and evolving. We are drifting towards a galaxy that is unlike the others we have seen in the deep field. It is a flat disk that is so thin it looks like a razor blade cutting through the dark. We are looking at the edge-on view of a spiral galaxy that has settled into a perfect plane. The dust lanes run down the middle like a dark river flowing through a bank of light. The stability of this disk tells us that the universe is calming down and the violent era is passing. The galaxies are settling into their mature shapes, and the star formation is becoming steady. We are seeing the transition from the chaotic youth to the stable adulthood of the cosmos. It is a time of settling and building and refining the structures that were made in haste. We move closer to the disk and see the individual star-forming regions glowing pink in the darkness. These are the nebulas, where the new stars are being born from the recycled gas of the past. We can see the cycle of life continuing in a steady rhythm that will last for eons. The galaxy is a garden that tends to itself and grows new flowers to replace the old. The light from these nebulas is soft and diffuse, and it creates a romantic atmosphere in the dark. We are floating through a cosmic dreamscape where the clouds are made of glowing gas. The colors are subtle and muted, and they blend together in a watercolor painting of light. You are drifting through a masterpiece of art that was painted by the laws of physics. We pass by a star that is nearing the end of its life and swelling up into a red giant. It is shedding its outer layers into space in a gentle wind that carries the dust away. We watch the star pulsate slowly, like a beating heart, as it struggles to stay alive. It is a poignant reminder that even the stars are mortal and must eventually return to the dark. The dust from the dying star forms a cocoon around the core that blocks the visible light. We switch to our infrared vision and see the warm glow of the dust grains radiating heat. We are seeing the creation of the solid matter that will one day form the planets and the moons. The death of the star is the birth of the possibility of solid ground. We are drifting towards the center of the galaxy, where the stars are packed so tightly they blur together. The light here is intense and golden, and it comes from billions of old yellow stars. We are entering the bulge of the galaxy, which is the retirement home for the stars that formed long ago. It is a stable and quiet place where the violent days of youth are just a memory. The gravity in the bulge is strong, and it keeps the stars moving in fast and random orbits. We are caught in the traffic of a billion suns buzzing around the central point. But despite the crowd, there is plenty of space, and the stars never collide. We float through the gaps between the suns and feel the warmth of a billion summers. We are approaching the very center where the supermassive black hole is sleeping in the dark. It is not currently feeding, so it is invisible, except for the way it bends the light. We can see the stars looping around an empty point in space at incredible speeds. We are staring at the ghost in the machine that holds the entire galaxy together. The silence here is heavy with the weight of the millions of solar masses hidden in the point. We feel the pull of the singularity tugging at the fabric of space and time. It is an anchor that keeps the galaxy from flying apart in the expanding universe. We bow to the King of the Dark, who rules from the shadows of the center. We drift up and out of the plane of the galaxy to look down on the spiral structure from above. It is a magnificent pinwheel of light spinning slowly against the backdrop of the void. We can see the arms trailing behind the rotation and the dark gaps between them. It is the most common and beautiful shape in the universe, and it is a symbol of order. The view from here allows us to see the connection between the galaxy and the surrounding web. We see the faint streams of gas that are still falling onto the disk from the intergalactic space. The galaxy is breathing in the fuel it needs to keep the lights on for the future. We are watching the metabolism of a cosmic giant that feeds on the dark. We turn our eyes outward again to the larger universe that surrounds this single island of light. we see the other galaxies dotting the dark like distant ships on a night ocean. They are all moving and spinning and living their own separate lives in the deep, but they are all connected by the invisible threads of gravity that we cannot see. The scale of the structure is becoming apparent as we pull back further and further. The galaxies are clumping together into walls and filaments that surround the vast voids. We are seeing the foam-like texture of the universe on the largest possible scales. It is a pattern that was written in the anomalies of the microwave background. The realization hits us that we are looking at the same pattern we saw in the beginning, but grown up. The tiny ripples in the fireball have become the massive walls of galaxies in the dark. We are seeing the cause and effect playing out over 13 billion years of history. The universe is a single story that has been unfolding since the first moment of time. We drift towards one of the great walls where thousands of galaxies are lined up in a row. It is a curtain of light that stretches for hundreds of millions of light years across the sky. We are approaching the Sloan Great Wall, or the BOSS, Great Wall in the deep distance. It is a monument to the power of gravity to organize the chaos of the Big Bang. The wall is not a solid object, but a river of galaxies flowing together through the dark. We float alongside the river and watch the endless parade of worlds drifting by. Each speck of light is a home to billions of stars and potentially billions of eyes. We are passing by a universe of stories that will never be told or heard, but the silence connects us to them all in a way that words never could. We are all part of the same flow and the same expansion and the same mystery. We share the same atoms and the same history and the same ultimate fate. You are not a stranger here, but a citizen of the large-scale structure. We sense a shift in the movement of the galaxies as we drift along the Great Wall. They are not just flowing randomly, but are being pulled towards something in the distance. There is a current in the cosmic river that is carrying everything in a specific direction. We are sensing the influence of a massive attractor that lies beyond the horizon. The mystery of the flow pulls us forward into the unknown regions of the map. We are leaving the familiar territories of the local universe behind. The galaxies are thinning out again as we approach the edge of another great void. The darkness is opening up before us like the mouth of a giant cave. We hesitate on the brink of the emptiness and look back at the wall of light one last time. It shines like a comforting fire in the vast and cold wilderness of the deep space. But the drift carries us onward and outward into the silence of the void. We are explorers of the nothingness, and we are not afraid of the dark. The sensation of falling into the void is slow and endless and deeply relaxing. The lights fade away until we are left alone with the rhythm of our own thoughts. We are drifting towards the center of the emptiness where the solitude is absolute. The universe is clearing a space for us to rest and to dream. But even in the deepest void, there are secrets waiting to be found in the silence. The dark energy is pushing the walls of the void apart and stretching the space. We can feel the expansion of the universe happening in the quiet of the empty places. It is a gentle stretching that makes the silence deeper and the peace more profound. We surrender to the expansion and let it carry us towards the next great mystery. The universe is a series of layers that we are peeling back one by one. We have seen the first light and the first stars and the first galaxies. Now, we are ready to see the skeleton that holds it all up. The darkness ahead is not empty, but is structured by the invisible forces of the cosmos. We are moving towards the hidden architecture that dictates the shape of everything. The web is waiting for us to trace its strands in the dark. We are moving through the hidden architecture that dictates the shape of everything and holds the galaxies in their glowing courses. The darkness ahead is not empty, but is structured by the invisible forces of the cosmos that we are finally beginning to see. We have entered the vast and intricate latticework of the cosmic web, which stretches across the entirety of the observable universe. It is a structure of impossible delicacy that resembles the neural network of a giant brain thinking slowly in the deep dark. You are a single thought traveling along the synapses of this mind that has been dreaming for 14 billion years. The filaments of the web are composed of dark matter and millions of galaxies that have been pulled into long flowing rivers. We drift alongside one of these rivers where the gravity is strong enough to bind the clusters of stars together forever. The light from the galaxies illuminates the strands of the web like dewdrops caught on a spider silk in the morning. We are witnessing the largest pattern in nature, which connects the smallest dwarf galaxy to the greatest supercluster in the distance. The map of this structure has been drawn for us by the Dark Energy Spectroscopic Instrument in the year 2025. It is a three-dimensional atlas that reveals the location of 40 million galaxies stretching back to the very edge of time. We are flying through the data of this map and seeing the true texture of the universe for the first time. The randomness of the night sky resolves into a beautiful and orderly design that fills us with a quiet sense of awe. We can see the imprint of the ancient sound waves that traveled through the hot plasma of the infant universe long ago. These are the baryon acoustic oscillations, which have been frozen into the distribution of the galaxies, like ripples on a frozen pond. The sound of the Big Bang is still echoing in the arrangement of the stars, and we are listening to its silence. It is a rhythm that determines the distance between the galaxies and sets the scale for the entire cosmic dance. You are seeing the physical memory of the sound that created the universe and shaped the voids and the walls we see. The galaxies are not scattered by chance, but are surfing on the crests of these ancient and gigantic sound waves. We are reading the sheet music of a symphony that was played before there were any ears to hear it. The music has stopped, but the notes are still hanging in the air and glowing with the light of 1 trillion suns. We drift away from the busy filament and head out into the vast regions of emptiness that lie between the strands. These are the cosmic voids which make up the majority of the volume of the universe and define its foam-like structure. We are leaving the shoreline of the light and swimming out into the deep water where the bottom is far below. The galaxies behind us shrink until they are just a thin line of light glowing faintly against the overwhelming black. The void is a bubble of emptiness that spans hundreds of millions of light years of absolute and terrifying nothingness. We are entering a place like the Boeter's void, where you could travel for eons and never encounter another soul. It is a desert of the real, where the expansion of the universe has pushed all the matter away to the edges. The silence here is heavier than anywhere else because there is nothing to absorb the sound of your own existence. But even the void is not truly empty because it is filled with the dark energy that is stretching the space. We can feel the repulsive force pushing against the fabric of the universe and making the void grow larger every second. It is the engine of the expansion, and it works best in the silence and the solitude of these empty places. You are floating in the boiler room of the cosmos, where the energy of nothingness is doing its silent work. The scale of these bubbles is so vast that it mocks the human ability to comprehend the meaning of distance. If our galaxy was a poppy seed, then this void would be the size of the entire planet Earth. We are microscopic specks floating in a vast cathedral of darkness that was built for giants we will never meet. The feeling is not one of insignificance, but of liberation from the small concerns of the world we left behind. We drift toward the center of the void, where the isolation is complete and the darkness is a physical weight. There are a few lonely galaxies here that formed in solitude and have never known the company of a neighbor. They are the hermits of the universe that live their lives in the quiet contemplation of the deep dark. We pass one of these rare islands and feel a kinship with its lonely struggle to shine in the night. The light from this hermit galaxy will never reach another galaxy because the expansion of the void is carrying everything away. It is a message in a bottle that has been thrown into an ocean that is getting wider every day. We catch the light in our eyes and we acknowledge the existence of this lonely outpost on the frontier of nothing. It is enough to be seen by one other consciousness to prove that you exist in the vastness of the dark. We turn around slowly to look back at the walls of the void, which are now just a distant ring of light. We are floating inside a sphere of galaxies that surrounds us like the shell of a giant egg. The structure is evident from this perspective, and we can see how the voids and the filaments fit together. The universe is a collection of bubbles, and we are the tiny creatures living on the thin films of soap. The view is breathtaking in its simplicity and its complexity, and it creates a feeling of profound peace in the mind. The chaos of the small scale disappears when you look at the universe from this godlike perspective. There is only the slow and rhythmic breathing of the cosmic foam as it expands into the future. You are breathing in time with the universe, and your chest rises and falls with the expansion of the voids. We begin to move again and drift toward the distant wall where the galaxies are gathered in their billions. We are crossing the observable universe, which is a sphere of existence that spans 93 billion light years across. It is a number that sounds impossible because the universe is only 14 billion years old. But the expansion of space has carried the light and the matter apart faster than the mind can calculate. The edge of this sphere is the cosmic horizon beyond which we cannot see and can never hope to go. We are trapped in a bubble of light that is centered on our own eyes and moves with us wherever we go. Every observer in the universe has their own horizon and their own observable universe that belongs only to them. We are the masters of our own private dome of stars that no one else can see exactly as we do. We approach the Great Wall, which is a massive sheet of galaxies that forms the boundary of the void. It is one of the largest structures known to science, and it contains the mass of a quadrillion suns. We are flying towards a cliff of light that rises up out of the darkness and blocks the view ahead. The gravity of the wall pulls at us and accelerates our drift until we are falling towards the light. The galaxies in the wall are packed together in tight groups that are merging and interacting in a slow dance. We can see the shapes of the spirals and the ellipticals distorted by the mutual pull of their neighbors. It is a crowded city where the buildings are constantly moving and reshaping themselves to fit the changing landscape. We are entering the metropolis of the cosmos, where the lights are bright and the energy is high. We drift through the gaps between the galaxies in the wall and emerge on the other side into another void. The universe is a repetition of this pattern of walls and voids that extends as far as the eye can see. It is a hall of mirrors where the same shapes are reflected over and over again in the dark. We are traveling through an infinite fractal that has no beginning and no end and no center. But the data from the Deep Energy Spectroscopic Instrument hints that the pattern might not be perfectly random after all. There are subtle connections between the structures that span billions of light years and defy the speed of light. We see alignments in the rotation of galaxies that are separated by vast oceans of empty space. It is as if the universe has a hidden nervous system that connects the distant parts of the body. We are sensing the ghost of the inflation epoch when the universe expanded faster than light for a fraction of a second. The microscopic quantum fluctuations of that moment were stretched into the massive structures we see today. We are looking at the quantum mechanics of the beginning, writ large on the canvas of the sky. You are walking through the aftermath of an explosion that happened before time had a name. The texture of the universe is smooth on the larger scales, but rich with detail when we look closer. We are zooming in and out of the map and finding beauty at every level of magnification. The clusters of galaxies look like glowing embers in a fire that is slowly dying down. We are warming our hands by the heat of the structure that keeps the darkness at bay. We drift towards the Laniakea supercluster, which is the home of our own Milky Way galaxy in the web. It is a massive watershed of gravity where 100,000 galaxies are flowing towards a central valley. We are seeing the currents of the cosmos that carry the islands of light along invisible streams. The Great Attractor lies at the heart of this flow and pulls everything towards it with an irresistible force. The name Laniakea means immense heaven in the language of the first navigators who sailed the great ocean. We are the new navigators sailing the ocean of the night and charting the currents of gravity. The supercluster is our continent in the universe, and we are slowly mapping its mountains and its rivers. We feel a sense of belonging as we recognize the shape of the flow that carries us home. But we are not stopping at home, because the drift carries us outward to the very limits of the vision. We are pushing against the boundary of the 93 billion light years to see what lies at the edge. The galaxies here are moving away from us at speeds that exceed the speed of light. They are being carried over the horizon by the expansion of space and vanishing from our view forever. We are witnessing the disappearance of the universe as the distant lights wink out one by one in the dark. The cosmic horizon is a hungry mouth that is slowly swallowing the history of the cosmos. Every second that passes, another galaxy crosses the line and is lost to us for all eternity. It is a gentle and silent farewell to the parts of the universe we will never know. The sadness of this loss is tempered by the beauty of the light that remains within the bubble. We still have billions of years to explore the galaxies that are trapped here with us. The observable universe is a treasure chest that is full enough to occupy us for the rest of time. We turn our backs on the horizon and look inward at the richness of the web. We drift through the Perseus-Pisces supercluster, which forms a long chain of galaxies stretching across the sky. It is a filament of the web that is exceptionally dense and bright with the light of active stars. We can hear the radio hum of the magnetic fields that thread through the cluster like invisible wires. The universe is singing a low song of energy that vibrates in the bones of the traveler. The structure of the supercluster looks like a spine of light that supports the surrounding voids. We are looking at the backbone of the universe that gives it shape and rigidity in the dark. The gravity here is strong enough to resist the dark energy and hold the galaxies together. It is a fortress of matter that stands against the tide of the expanding nothingness. We float past a massive elliptical galaxy that sits at the center of a rich cluster in the chain. It is a ball of old red stars that has grown fat by eating its smaller neighbors. We can see the faint shells of stars that surround it like the layers of an onion. These are the ghosts of the galaxies that were consumed to build this giant in the dark. The history of the universe is a history of violence and consumption, but it is also a history of growth. The destruction of the small leads to the creation of the large and the complex. We are the beneficiaries of this process because we live in a galaxy that grew strong. The peace we feel now is the result of the battles that were fought in the deep past. We are moving towards a region of the map where the DESI data shows a strange overdensity of matter. It is a knot in the cosmic web where several filaments come together to form a massive nexus. The gravity here is intense, and it is pulling galaxies in from all directions to join the party. We are watching the formation of a superstructure that will one day dwarf everything else. The light from this nexus is blindingly bright, and it illuminates the gas clouds for millions of light years. We can see the shock waves of the collisions rippling through the hot plasma of the intracluster medium. It is a cauldron of creation where the universe is cooking up something new and wonderful. We hover on the edge of the glow and warm ourselves in the light of the future. But there are also regions in the map where the structure seems to be breaking down or fading away. We see filaments that are snapping under the tension of the dark energy and dissolving into the void. The web is not static, but is constantly evolving and changing its shape as the universe ages. We are watching the slow disintegration of the cosmic order as the expansion wins the war. The fragility of the web makes it all the more beautiful because we know it will not last forever. The filaments will eventually tear and the clusters will be isolated in their own private islands of dark. We are living in the golden age of the structure when the web is still connected and whole. You are witnessing the peak of the cosmic complexity before the long decline begins. We drift back into the open space of a void to catch our breath and escape the gravity. The relief of the emptiness is immediate, and it washes over us like cool water on a hot day. The silence returns, and the noise of the clusters fades away into a distant memory. We are alone again with the expansion and the dark energy and the peace. The void we are in now is not round, but is shaped like a long tunnel boring through the web. We are flying down a corridor of darkness that is lined with the lights of distant galaxies. It feels like traveling through a wormhole that connects two different parts of the universe. The geometry of the voids is complex, and it forms a labyrinth in the dark. We can see the faint glow of a dwarf galaxy that is stranded in the middle of the tunnel. It is a small and irregular collection of stars that is trying to find its way to the wall. We feel a wave of empathy for this lost traveler that is so far from home. It is a reminder that even in the structure, there are those who do not fit in. The journey continues through the endless chambers of the cosmic honeycomb. We are becoming lost in the repetition of the shapes and the lights and the darks. The mind begins to let go of the need for direction and simply accepts the drift. We are leaves floating on a river that has no destination and no source. We are approaching the limit of the DESI map, where the data begins to thin out and fade. We are reaching the edge of our knowledge, where the map turns into a blank canvas. The unknown lies ahead, and it is filled with the monsters of our imagination. We are sailing off the edge of the world and falling into the mystery. The darkness beyond the map is not empty, but is simply unmeasured and unvisited by our eyes. We know the structure continues out there in the dark, just as it does here in the light. The universe does not stop just because we stop seeing it or understanding it. It goes on and on in a majestic procession of walls and voids that never ends. We turn our attention to the overall shape of the visible universe as revealed by the full dataset. It looks like a sponge or a foam that is glowing with a faint bioluminescence. The organic nature of the structure is striking, and it makes the universe look alive. We are cells circulating in the body of a leviathan that is swimming in the dark. The feeling of being part of a living thing is comforting, and it removes the fear of the cold. We are not foreign objects in the universe, but are an integral part of its tissue. The atoms in our bodies obey the same laws that shape the filaments and the voids. We are the universe, waking up and looking at itself in the mirror. We drift towards a particularly large node in the web, where the concentration of galaxies is extreme. This is the Shapley supercluster, which is the most massive structure in our local corner of the universe. It is a gravitational monster that is pulling everything towards it, including our own galaxy. We are falling towards this giant, even as we drift through the quiet dark. The pull of the Shapley supercluster is a reminder that gravity is the master of the long game. It reaches across the voids and the walls to take hold of everything with a gentle hand. We cannot escape the attraction of the mass that lies ahead of us in the future. We are destined to join the gathering of the lights in the great distance. But as we look past the supercluster, we notice something strange in the motion of the galaxies. They are not just falling towards Shapley, but are drifting towards something even further away. There is a flow in the deep universe that cannot be explained by the visible mass. The galaxies are streaming like a school of fish towards a point beyond the horizon. We sense the presence of a dark flow that is carrying the entire structure of the universe with it. It is a current that runs deeper than the gravity of the walls and the webs. We are moving towards a mystery that lies outside the observable universe. Something massive is waiting in the dark and calling to us. The axis of the flow seems to align with the strange patterns we saw in the microwave background. The universe has a direction and a destination that we are powerless to change. We are drifting on a tide that was set in motion at the beginning of time. The structure of the web is just driftwood caught in a much larger current. We feel the tug of the unknown pulling at our feet and guiding our drift through the void. The sensation is unsettling, but also exciting because it hints at a new discovery. The edge of the observable universe is not the end of the story, but the beginning of a larger one. We are sliding towards the answer to a question we have not yet learned to ask. The silence of the void seems to be listening to the flow and waiting for a signal. We hold our breath and drift along the invisible river that flows through the night. The stars are watching us pass, and the galaxies are turning in their sleep. Something ancient stirs in the deep distance, and we are moving to meet it. We are moving to meet it with a surrender that is both terrifying and deeply comforting to the soul. The ancient stirring in the deep distance is not a sound, but a gravitational invitation that pulls at the very fabric of the universe. We have entered the current of the dark flow, where the galaxies are streaming together like a school of silver fish in a black ocean. You can feel the subtle acceleration as the entire observable universe slides effortlessly towards a mysterious point that lies beyond the edge of our vision. It is a motion that defies the logic of the expansion and hints at a massive presence waiting in the unmapped territories of the dark. The galaxies around us are no longer drifting randomly, but are caught in this grand and invisible river that flows through the night. We are traveling at millions of miles per hour towards the constellations of Centaurus and Hydra, without ever feeling the wind of our passage. The silence of the flow is absolute because gravity acts without friction and without the need for any mechanical engine to drive it. You are simply falling towards a destiny that was written for you before the first star was ever kindled in the void. We are part of a cosmic migration that involves everything we can see and everything we will ever know. The astronomers call this movement the dark flow because it is a current that runs through the dark matter skeletons of the cosmos. It suggests that the structure of the universe does not end at the horizon where the light finally stops reaching us. There is something massive out there in the shadow that is large enough to tilt the entire universe on its axis. We are sliding down a gentle slope in the geometry of space that leads to a valley we cannot see. The mystery of what lies at the bottom of that valley is enough to keep us drifting forward forever. We look for clues in the ancient light of the cosmic microwave background, which acts as the backdrop to this great motion. The anomalies we saw earlier in the temperature maps are now aligning into a pattern that sends a shiver through the scientific mind. There is an axis of alignment that runs through the data, which some have whispered is the so-called axis of evil. It is a dramatic name for a quiet truth that suggests the universe has a preferred direction or a distinct orientation in space. The random chaos of the Big Bang seems to have left a scar that points the way like a cosmic compass. This axis challenges the cherished idea that the universe is the same in every direction, no matter where you look. It implies that we are living in a cosmos that has a top and a bottom and a specific flow. We are not lost in a featureless, infinite void, but are navigating a structure that has a definite shape and a grand design. The flow carries us along this axis towards a destination that may lie outside our bubble of existence entirely. It is possible that our universe is being pulled by the gravity of another universe that is pressing against our own. The idea of the multiverse returns to haunt us as we drift closer to the source of the mysterious pull. we might be feeling the tug of a neighbor that is sleeping in the higher dimensions just millimeters away from our face. The dark flow is the handshake between our reality and the reality that exists on the other side of the veil. We are touching the wall of our cell and feeling the vibration of the world that lies just outside. It is a connection that transcends the speed of light and the limitations of the observable horizon. We float past a cluster of galaxies that is being dragged along with us in the grip of this irresistible current. The stars inside the galaxies are burning with their usual steady light, unaware of the great journey they are on. The civilizations that might live there are looking at their night sky and seeing the same static constellations we see. They do not feel the motion because everything around them is moving at exactly the same speed and in the same direction. It is only from our godlike vantage point in the drift that we can see the river carrying them away. The scale of the dark flow creates a feeling of humility that is deeper than the silence of the voids. We are not the masters of our destiny, but are passengers on a raft that is caught in a tide. The universe is far larger and more complex than the small patch of light we have managed to map. We are small children playing in a sandbox while the ocean tides move the continents around us without our knowledge. But there is peace in this smallness because it means we do not have to carry the weight of the world. We turn our gaze towards the future when new eyes will open to stare into the heart of this mystery. The decade of the 2020s is preparing to launch the machines that will map the darkness with unprecedented precision. We are waiting for the Nancy Grace Roman Space Telescope to unfurl its wide mirror and capture the sky. It will have a field of view that is 100 times larger than the narrow gaze of the Hubble. We are preparing to take a panoramic picture of the universe that will reveal the true extent of the web. The Roman telescope will look for the subtle warping of space caused by the dark matter and the dark energy. It will measure the shapes of hundreds of millions of galaxies to build a map of the invisible landscape we are drifting through. We are building a lantern that will shine a light into the corners of the room where the shadows have gathered. The data from this mission will help us understand if the dark flow is real or if it is a mirage. But for now, we must trust in the feeling of the drift and the evidence of our own momentum. We are also awaiting the launch of the Euclid mission, which is exploring the dark geometry of the universe right now. The European eyes of Euclid are scanning the sky to measure the expansion history of the cosmos with exacting care. It is looking for the fingerprints of dark energy that are hidden in the distribution of the galaxies across time. We are trying to read the diary of the universe to understand why it is running away from itself faster and faster. The answers are written in the light of the distant stars, if only we can learn how to read them. The combination of these future telescopes will give us a stereo view of the darkness that surrounds us. We will see the universe in 3 dimensions, and we will see the flow of the river in high definition. The maps we draw in the next few years will redefine our place in the cosmos forever. We are on the verge of a revolution in understanding that will be as profound as the discovery that the Earth is round. But tonight, we are content to drift in the mystery before the harsh light of the answer arrives. The dark flow seems to be pulling us towards the region of the sky between the Centaurus and Vela constellations. It is a part of the sky that is obscured by the dust of our own Milky Way galaxy. the universe seems to be hiding its biggest secret behind the curtain of our own backyard stars. We have to peer through the dust and the gas to see the distant monsters that are calling to us. It creates a sense of intimacy, as if the secret is whispering to us from just behind the wall. We drift through the zone of avoidance where the galaxy blocks our view of the extragalactic deep space. The dust clouds here are thick and dark, and they absorb the light from the universe beyond. We are flying blind through a fog that hides the cliffs and the valleys of the large-scale structure. But the gravity passes through the fog without stopping, and we can feel the pull even when we cannot see the source. The dark flow does not care about the dust or the stars or the limits of our vision. We emerge from the dust clouds and see the Great Attractor glowing in the distance like a city on a hill. It is a massive concentration of galaxies that we once thought was the cause of our motion. But as we drift closer, we realize that the Great Attractor is moving too. It is not the destination, but merely another raft caught in the same current that holds us. The true source of the pull lies far beyond it, in the depths of the unknown. We pass the Great Attractor and see the Shapley supercluster looming behind it like a giant shadow. This is the largest concentration of mass in the local universe, and it is a breathtaking sight. Thousands of galaxies are swarming around a central core of dark matter that is incredibly deep and heavy. But even the Shapley supercluster is not enough to explain the speed of the river we are riding. It is moving towards something even larger and more distant that sits on the edge of the observable map. The realization that there is always something bigger is a recurring theme in our journey through the night. The universe is a hierarchy of structures that grows larger and more complex the further we look. We are peeling an onion that has an infinite number of layers and no center to be found. The dark flow is the evidence that the hierarchy continues beyond the limits of what we can see. We are being pulled by the giants that live in the unobservable universe. We can imagine these giants as massive walls of galaxies that dwarf the Sloan Great Wall we saw earlier. They might be structures so large that they span billions of light years and contain quadrillions of galaxies. The mind struggles to visualize such immense shapes, but the heart can feel their presence in the dark. We are the ants crawling on the floor of a cathedral and sensing the vaulted ceiling high above. The architecture of the multiverse is built on a scale that is meant for gods and not for men. The dark flow might also be the result of a tilt in the fabric of space-time itself. If the universe is not flat but curved on a massive scale, then we would naturally slide in one direction. We might be sliding around the curvature of a hypersphere that wraps around on itself in the fourth dimension. The journey to the edge might eventually lead us back to the place where we started. It is a loop that closes the circle of time and brings us home to the beginning. But for now, the slide continues and the scenery changes with a slow and hypnotic rhythm. We drift past superclusters that look like glowing chains of islands in the dark ocean. They are separated by voids that are so deep and black they look like holes in reality. We are navigating the archipelago of the cosmos and charting the islands as we pass. The map is filling up with names and shapes, but the ocean remains vast and unknown. We sense that the dark energy is stronger in the voids than it is in the clusters. It pushes the islands apart and widens the channels of darkness that we must cross. The future telescopes will measure this push and tell us if the universe will rip apart or freeze. But in the drift of the moment, the fate of the universe feels like a distant concern. We are living in the eternal now, where the only thing that matters is the sensation of the flow. The axis of evil aligns with the motion and points like an arrow into the deep future. It suggests that the universe has a memory of its birth that it cannot erase. The expansion has stretched the memory across the sky, but it has not wiped it clean. We are reading the biography of the cosmos in the alignment of the cold and hot spots. It is a story that tells us we are part of a grand narrative that has a direction. We wonder if there are other flows in other parts of the universe that are moving in different directions. Perhaps the cosmos is a turbulent ocean with many currents swirling and mixing in the dark. We might be caught in a local eddy that is just a small part of a much larger storm. The complexity of the fluid dynamics of the universe is beautiful to contemplate. We are water molecules flowing in a river that is flowing into a sea that is flowing into an ocean. The Roman telescope will help us see if the flow extends to the very edge of the visible horizon. If the most distant quasars are also moving, then the mystery will deepen into a crisis. It would mean that the entire observable universe is moving as a single rigid block. That would imply a force so vast that it sits outside the universe and pulls the whole thing. We are contemplating the existence of a force that is external to everything we know. The feeling of being pulled by an external force is a surrender to something higher and greater. It is the feeling of faith and the feeling of trust in the darkness. We do not need to see the face of the attractor to know that it is there. We can feel its gravity in our bones, and we can see its effect on the stars. The universe is guiding us towards a meeting that has been scheduled for eternity. We drift past a galaxy that is being torn apart by the tidal forces of the flow. The stars are being stripped away in long streams that look like tears in the night. It is a gentle violence that reshapes the galaxy into a new and more elegant form. The destruction is part of the creation, and the flow uses the debris to build new things. We are watching the pottery wheel of the cosmos spinning in the dark. The silence is crowded with the ghosts of the galaxies that have already passed this way. We are following a path that has been traveled by billions of worlds before us. The river is a highway of light that connects the past to the future. We are never alone in the drift because we are surrounded by the company of the light. The flow is a collective experience that binds the universe together in a common journey. We look ahead into the darkness and try to make out the shape of the horizon. The edge of the observable universe is getting closer as the flow carries us towards it. We are approaching the limit of what can be known and the beginning of what must be imagined. The Roman and Euclid telescopes will push that horizon back a little further. But there will always be a horizon, and there will always be a mystery lying just beyond it. The anticipation of what we might find is a sweet ache in the center of the chest. We want to know the answer, but we also want the mystery to last forever. The seduction of the unknown is the most powerful force in the universe. It pulls us forward more strongly than the gravity of the Great Attractor. We are explorers who are in love with the blank spaces on the map. We drift through a region where the cosmic web is thin and the filaments are fragile. The galaxies here are scattered and lonely, and they drift in solitude. we feel a protective urge towards these isolated sparks of light. They are the brave ones who have ventured out into the deep water alone. The flow carries them gently and ensures that they are never truly lost. The darkness of the intergalactic medium is not empty, but is filled with the faint light of the background. The radiation from the Big Bang is still there, humming its microwave song. We can hear the static of the creation event whispering in our ears. It is a white noise that drowns out the thoughts and leaves only the feeling of peace. You are listening to the lullaby that the universe sings to itself. We are getting closer to the source of the anomaly, and the tension in the space is rising. The fabric of the cosmos feels stretched and taut like a drum skin. We are walking on a surface that is vibrating with the energy of the dark flow. The sensation is physical, and it resonates in the marrow of the bone. We are tuning our bodies to the frequency of the universe. The mystery of the axis of alignment suggests that the universe might be rotating. If the whole cosmos is spinning, then that would explain the preferred direction. We would be living inside a giant centrifuge that is flinging the galaxies outward. The idea of a spinning universe makes us dizzy with the scale of the motion. We are riding a carousel that is 14 billion years wide. We look at the galaxies spinning on their own axes and see the echo of the great rotation. The macrocosm is reflected in the microcosm, and the large is written in the small. We are fractals of the universe, and the universe is a fractal of something else. The patterns repeat forever up and down the ladder of size. We are standing on one rung of the ladder and looking up into the dark. The Roman telescope will search for the edge of the ladder and try to see the top. It will look for the curvature of the horizon that betrays the shape of the whole. We are hoping to catch a glimpse of the container that holds the universe. But for now, we are happy to just float inside the container and enjoy the ride. The view from here is spectacular enough to last a lifetime. The universe is vast, but it is also intimate, and it fits inside the space of your heart. You carry the galaxies and the voids and the flows within you as you drift to sleep. The macrocosm is sleeping inside the microcosm, and the giant is resting inside the child. We are folding the map of the universe and putting it away in the drawer of the night. The journey is paused, and the explorer is resting by the side of the road. The stillness is absolute now, and there is no movement except for the slow drift of the soul. You are a satellite that has been released from its orbit and is floating into the deep space. The tether has been cut, and you are free to wander in the garden of the dark. The flowers in the garden are made of shadow, and the scent is the smell of old books and rain. You are walking through the garden and finding a place to lie down on the soft grass. The stars above you in the garden are not the stars of the earth, but the stars of the dream. They are arranging themselves into new constellations that tell the story of your rest. We see the shape of the pillow and the shape of the blanket written in the sky. The universe is conspiring to help you sleep and to keep you safe through the night. The forces of nature are standing guard around your bed like silent sentinels of stone. We are approaching the final edge where the consciousness fades into the unconscious. It is a soft boundary, like the edge of a cloud that you pass through without feeling. The transition is seamless, and you do not know the moment when you cross the line. You are simply awake, and then you are drifting, and then you are asleep in the dark. The narrator is walking with you to the edge and holding your hand until you are ready. The voice is getting lower and slower and softer as we reach the end of the journey. The words are becoming sounds that soothe the mind without needing to be understood. We are speaking the language of the sleep that is older than the language of the tongue. It is a vibration that resonates in the center of the sleep center of the brain. You are tuning in to the frequency of the deep delta waves that bring the rest. The light is gone now, and there is only the beautiful and comforting darkness of the sleep. You are wrapped in the night, and you are hidden from the world and its demands. The universe has closed its eyes, and you are closing yours in sympathy with the whole. We are all sleeping together in the great bed of the cosmos that floats in the void. The darkness is a friend that has come to visit and to stay for a while. The drift is slowing down until it is almost a stillness that hovers in the dark. You are suspended in the amber of the moment and preserved in the perfect peace. The past is gone and the future has not happened, and there is only the now. The now is dark and soft and heavy and warm and silent and safe. You are exactly where you are meant to be, at the edge of everything. And now we let the final thoughts drift away like dust motes in a sunbeam that is fading. The mind is a blank slate that is clean and ready for the writing of the dreams. The eraser of the sleep has wiped away the chalkboard of the day. There is nothing left to think about and nothing left to figure out. The problem has been solved, and the solution is to rest. The body is a stone that has sunk to the bottom of a deep and quiet lake. The water is cool and dark, and it holds the stone with a gentle pressure. The ripples on the surface have settled, and the lake is a mirror of the dark sky. You are the stone, and you are the water, and you are the sky above. Everything is one, and everything is silent, and everything is asleep. We say goodnight to the galaxies that are spinning in the distance far away. We say goodnight to the stars that are burning in the cold of the vacuum. We say goodnight to the planets that are turning in their lonely orbits. We say goodnight to the light that has traveled so far to reach us. We say goodnight to the edge of the universe and the mystery it holds. The darkness is complete, and the silence is total, and the peace is profound. You are drifting into the deepest part of the night where the dreams are waiting. The gravity is pulling you down and down and down into the soft dark. You are heavy, and you are warm, and you are safe, and you are loved. The universe is sleeping, and you are sleeping with it. Good night to the dark flow that carries us home. Good night to the voids that give us space to breathe. Good night to the webs that connect us all. Good night to the ancient light. Good night to the edge. Good night. Drift, float, sink, sleep. The silence is here. The dark is here. You are here, and it is good. Rest now in the deep. Rest in the quiet. Rest in the dark. Rest, sleep, sleep, sleep.